Hello wonderful people, Connor Whitmore here again with another video for you on the Nawtystep channel, and today I'm going to be talking about the new EP from PhaseOne, Deadline. This is the fourth Disciple EP from Australian Graham Duffy and his first since May 2018. His last multi-track collection, however, being of course his debut album, Transcendency, released last April. An LP I really enjoyed in parts, I think of tunes like Insanity for example, which placed in my favourite tracks of last year, but also a lot of material on it, the majority for me, that doesn't push quite far enough with the invention of the ideas, and especially when you consider the outright excellence of tracks he'd put out before, like Welcome to Mayhem, UFO, Area 51. When you take into account the other originals and remixes he's put out in the recent past, it feels very much like a couple of years of not quite reaching those previous highs, the Double Up EP included. To his credit though, he's continued to further the bass and heavy metal crossover movement as the undoubted best producer in my opinion in that field, and he's played his part in a couple of good collaborations, I'll say that. But new solo music was what everyone was most hyped for, eager to see how his style would fare 16 months after Transcendency. And so, having given the EP a number of listens by now, has my impression of his recent output changed? Not all that much. On Deadline, PhaseOne gives an array of glimpses into just how fantastic a producer he can be. The right mix of inventive idea and really solid production. But once again, he lets his style down with the majority of material here just feeling very uninspired. Take for example the first dose of heaviness we get on the EP on the opener Inevitable Outcome. Bear in mind, preceding this is an introduction that is definitely up there with the best I've heard this year. That distant warlike atmosphere to kick it off, proceeding to become really grand and heroic. The musicality of it is perfect as well. It just really rouses you like you're preparing for battle. Oh, it's so good. The only bad thing about it being that it's so good that the drop really has to follow suit with how epic and grand it is. Basically, the intro sets a very high standard in terms of largeness and hype, which isn't quite what we get on said drop. Whilst the production is pretty fantastic, the sound is round and punchy, the idea is just so static, not a lot going on at all, and far more space needs filling for it to be something I can get into. You can spot the gaps. It does actually pick up really well, the quickening of everything, the background touches, it's properly emphatic, but unfortunately the aftertaste of that initial release is quite strong. Similarly static is the opening drop on the closer Another Breath, again just not enough space being filled here. I feel like his aim was to be super impactful with those sounds, but as there are so few of them, there's no fluidity, and like Inevitable Outcome, it's just difficult to really get into. You see what I mean? The final drop on that track is like a bouncy version of that static stuff, makes it a little more interesting, again briefly picking up fantastically with about 25 seconds of the EP to go. But once more, the aftertaste of that original release, it does sit deep. This is before I get onto track 2, the title track, which is for me the height of Duffy's lack of creativity here. I love the force of the first drop, the sound itself is so solid. But again, the idea, it just doesn't do anything, very bland. And the double drop follows suit, yet even less appealing, as the percussion here, I don't get how he was satisfied with it. This exact approach is one that so many are going for at the moment, BRIDDIM producers in particular, and I simply do not get. I just don't get how anyone gets enjoyment from it. Especially in music that's trying to be that large, the point of a snare is to provide contrast and unleash an idea fully. The one here becomes a part of the background to the point that it's almost non-existent. There's hardly a point in it. Having said that, the final drop on that tune is far better than what precedes it. Just a quickening of the first drop, but it works well, not insane, but a good switch up, and the tripling is really good. And it's at this point that I feel I should make clear that on every heavy tune here, there is something pretty brilliant. Discussed it already, but that brief moment where it picks up with about 20 seconds of the EP to go on Another Breath. the undoubted highlight on the EP for me would have to be the double or middle drop on the opener, Inevitable Outcome. Not gonna lie guys, this drop, it is It's up there. It is up there with the best drops I've heard all year. I talked about how the final drop on Another Breath, started a bit bouncy, but this one just takes that to another level. The dynamic between sounds is insane. The flow and swing of it is brilliant. Never lets up. The production is great. A couple of little break moments that disrupt the sequence a little bit, but aside from that, I can't really think of a way that I would improve it. This is what I'm talking about. Full-on, riveting, colossal, dynamic, beastly PhaseOne. It's a joy to hear. Now, there are 4 tracks here, and as you may have noticed, I'm yet to address one of them in any way up to this point, but that is with good reason, as within the context of the EP, it's the definite oddball. The lighter side of PhaseOne, which by now we all know he's got in his locker, but which I'm not sure adds anything here. I'm by no means against him doing this style, it's just so ordinary here, I feel like I have nothing of note to say about it. The trap percussion, the pop rock guitar, the vocal, the synths bereft of any real musical direction. If you take away the grungy flavour provided at points by PhaseOne, I would have thought this was a Marshmello song. Marshmello. Micah Martin's vocal does reach a couple of good notes, but mostly this song feels like it's just there, as opposed to actually doing anything. In terms of other stuff here, nice to hear the gnarly guitar in action towards the end of Inevitable Outcome and Another Breath in particular. Production isn't as powerful in those moments, but reminders of his metal background I think are always welcomed. And I'd also like to give a shout out to the fake outs on the title track, which are really well executed. Repeated for all 3 drops, but to me anyway, never gets old. Deadline. On the flip side of that, the muffled fake outs, which we get at various points here, very predictable for his style by now, and yeah, done enough, and I think time to move on. But overall with Deadline, similar to other recent projects from him, it feels like one of good and not so good in almost equal measure. There are fantastic moments in all the heavy cuts, but also enough in each one to make them tunes I won't go back to again and again as wholes. What I love about it is that it's clearly him, his style rings true, and no one doing the bass and metal crossover can produce at that quality. But when it comes to the ideas, yeah, we do get sparks here and there, but for the most part, it just doesn't feel like his talent is shining through. A lot of it is bland and straightforward to the point that it feels like stagnation on that front, maybe even regression. I mentioned them earlier, but I think of tunes like Welcome to Mayhem, UFO, Area 51, Insanity as well, and I just wonder how he's satisfied with the ideas we get here. Frankly, it feels more like he's pandering to trends as opposed to really letting his invention do the talking. He's put his stamp on another project, no doubt, but if you're looking for a re-energizing of his innovative prowess, you won't get it here. Now, in terms of my favourite here, then I think I'm going to have to go with Inevitable Outcome, one of my favourite drops of the whole year, one of my favourite introductions of the whole year, the most going for it, simple as. And in terms of recommendations, if you enjoyed the EP, I would look at Dirty Phonics, the closest, I think, in terms of production quality when it comes to the metal and bass crossover. But there we have it, my thoughts on the new EP from PhaseOne, Deadline, released on Disciple Records. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching. What did you guys make of the EP? Do you have a pick or favourite of the 4? Drop all of your views, thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. If you did enjoy the video, then be sure to give it a big old thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell along the way so you can be notified whenever I upload a new video to the channel, and my social media accounts and the new Discord server are linked below. And if you want to find some other EP reviews on the channel, I will link them right here. But beyond that, keep it naughty. If it's naughty, then you know. And I will see all of you legends in the next one. Peace.